Hi! Trees stand alone, but their roots are connected. And how much of that is just like how we live? We live as people with individual homes and families, but we're connected to the rest of our family and friends and community in so many ways. And yet, we seem to often ignore the fact that we are innately connected to the entire planet. And that's the part that's so difficult to accept. I mean, I listened this morning to Dr. Guy McPherson, someone I've listened to for at least 18, 20 years. He's from the University of Arizona, where I graduated with my doctorate. His specialty is forestry, but he has spent all the years that I've known him focusing on climate change. He reviews peer-reviewed papers. That means things that have been published, but a vast number of people have come together who are of the same academic standings or titles as he, and reviewed what he has written, or, well, not what Guy McPherson has written. He's doing it of other people's work, other people who are climate scientists specialty. And today was so hard for me, because some time ago, and it's probably been 8 or 10 years ago, he did an explanation of trees. I've been a freak about trees since I was very young, because I've always loved art, and I've always drawn trees. And I still have a tree that I made when I was hoping to become a jeweler. I really wanted to be a jeweler, but silver and gold isn't sustainable, so I still have one tree that I made, and it's precious to me. And I put a moonstone in it to represent the lovely full moon that I experienced last night. But this was when I was in my 20s, and now I'm almost in my 80s. So it's been a while. I've really had a love for trees for so long. But back then, I didn't have the knowledge of what's happening to trees. Trees can't move like a dolphin. If the water gets too warm, the dolphin can move. Oh, one of the things he told us today is much of the coral, I think it's over a third of the coral, has died because the water's too hot where it was living. And I can remember looking at coral. I spent a lot of times, especially in my childhood. We lived in Tampa, and I was able to go to Clearwater, Florida, and I would put on a snorkel and goggles, and I just love to look in the water. I love to be in the water and see so many things. And I had the incredible experience, 15 years ago, of going in Salinas with air and looking. It was incredible to be down there for so much longer and see so much. Oh God, it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. But trees aren't like that. Dolphins are. Fish, they can move. Coral can't. Coral can't move, and neither can trees. But 10, 15 years ago, he explained how trees would send their roots out and start new baby trees, or send their seed out and start new baby trees. Depending on the tree, they would start baby trees further north, and then they would start trees further north. And I was relieved, but today that's not what he told me. What he told me is that trees can't move fast enough. And that was his reading of a peer-reviewed paper. by a very respected publication. And then they also went on to say that they expect that up to 40% of trees are going to be lost because they can't move fast enough. They can't move north fast enough. And then this other paper said that the same thing is going to happen to people, that we've got to adapt. We have to decide where to live and how to live. One of the things that lots of people are making fun of right now, people have always made fun of me, okay? Let's just accept that fact. I'm old enough that people have made a lot of fun of me for the years because I, in fact, have always been a tree hugger. That's what they used to call me. I don't know that they say that word so much anymore, but that's what they always called me, was a tree hugger. And that's fine. You can call me anything you want, just take care of the trees. Because that's what gives us oxygen and homes for birds and homes for insects and feed for giraffes, and it goes on and on and on because we're all intertwined. We're all intertwined, just like trees stand alone, but their roots are woven together. Our lives are woven together. We can't live without air more than just a few, maybe seconds. Some people can hold their breath for 2 minutes. I can't. But seconds before we need more air. Trees give us air. You see the picture here that I'm trying to explain to you? Okay. The elites are kind of joked with now because apparently not only are they building underground homes and above ground communities and all kinds of things. Moats, that one's the one I heard yesterday. The elites, the billionaires, are building moats around their property to protect them, just like people did with castles eons ago. Incredibly, isn't that really remarkable to hear that that's what's going on? That people are, it's just something so ridiculous about people building moats. But that's what the experts tell us, because they're trying to figure out how in the world to survive with climate change. Well, the fact of the matter is the experts don't even know how to do that. Maybe we'll go back to caves. Who knows? You know, caves are kind of nice. They're cool. Can be too cool, depending on what's going on outside. Don't have a lot of circulation unless there's an air hole, and maybe we'll make air holes in the caves. And maybe we'll hope that they don't have landslides or cave in or... Wow. We just don't know. And that's the problem. But what I do know is that we need to create a regulated interdependence. Regulated interdependence. And thinking of something that you need to get done, you have a goal, and maybe it's recovering from drug or alcohol, so you feel like you really don't have a chance. But if you connect with a community that pushes you back upright every time you slip on the ice, it helps. Makes it real possible. And that's for anything. I mean, addiction is not just drugs and alcohol or medically indicated drugs or gambling or shopping or smoking or whatever. It just isn't. We can be addicted to drawing trees. I mean, it's true. I am absolutely addicted to crocheting. If I don't have a crochet needle in my hand every day or so, I get real edgy, irritable, and hard to live with. It's just the way it is. And I don't see any reason to stop crocheting. But some things, like overeating or gambling, we need to stop or regulate. And so often that comes from helping with others. Now, how can the trees do that? They can't. They really can't, as far as we know. If I hear anything else, I'll let you know. But like I said, it was 8 or 10 years ago when he first told me that the trees were slowly moving north. But the report now is they can't move fast enough. So what do we do about this emotionally? I mean, one of the things that Guy McPherson has told me is that when people first started to understand really what was going on with climate change, there was a lot of people talking about suicide. That gets you off the planet, but it doesn't help your family any, does it? It means that you need interdependence. You need somebody to talk to. You need to understand why staying here and helping with this process is important. That's what interdependence is about. So suicide is not the answer. But working together is the answer. Planting trees is not a bad idea. I was supposedly going off today, but taxi didn't work, so I'm going to probably go on Thursday off to buy some trees, some local trees that seem to do well here, that as far as we know, based on what climate has been. Climate here is very narrow, is a very narrow window. My understanding is we should expect to have a lot more water. And that's been a problem. It's been tearing up the roads. So too much of anything anywhere where it's never been before, or too little of something that's always been there, is the problem. That's why I have coined the term grief warrior, because although my grief for the trees is just right down into my soul. I mean, that's easy to understand for anyone who has something they feel really passionate about. And I feel really passionate about breathing, and I hope that the rest of you feel the same. But now I'm using the word warrior. That means I'm not giving up. I'm sad, but I'm not going to give up. That's why I'm making videos. I want to make sure that you can hear me every day of the year, telling you something. Why not to kill yourself? Why not to overeat? Or why to see yourself as wonderful? You know, that's the real part we have to recognize, is when we love ourselves, we love others. When we love ourselves, we don't take our lives. When we love ourselves, we can love the trees. When we love ourselves, we can love the flowers and the plants and the clouds and the mountains and everything around us, the fresh air. We can feel gratitude when we love ourselves. But when we don't love ourselves, it hurts everybody. It's hard to imagine, even those people who say, well, I don't have any family. That doesn't mean you don't have friends. That doesn't mean other people haven't counted on you for something. Maybe just your grumpiness. You know, every time we go to his house on Halloween, he's grumpy. Well, okay, that's still something you're known for. That's still something those children depend on. And if you come with a great big smile and you're not grumpy, they're going to be surprised, but they'll be pleased at least to see you with candy in your hands. We all want to get something from each other. And one of the things that we most enjoy is stability. The reason climate change is such a problem is it's changing that stability. It's changing the things we have counted on. It's changing the seasons. It's changed the seasons terribly here. All of the subsistence farmers around here know there's climate change. They're all very aware of it. Now they can plant corn 365 days a year. Well, not if it's raining so hard they can't stand up in the dirt. But the climate is not the problem right now, except the fact that it has screwed up the seasons so badly. And we have this tiny little window here I don't know it in Celsius, but in Fahrenheit it's 58 to 60. Excuse me. 58 is our low, 86 is our high. So things that require a lot of heat or some cold don't grow here. Now, that hasn't changed. But what has changed is the amount of water. There's way more water than there was before, which, of course, many of you say, well, that's not a bad thing because so many places don't have water. Well, that's true. But when you have too much of a good thing, that doesn't help either. And that's why you have to continue being a warrior. You have to be able to continue to fight for what you know is needed. We need a minimal amount of water that is appropriate for what we're planting. But we don't need so much water that it's pulling up the roads and we can't get back and forth to places we feel like we need to go to get things we feel like we need to have. But the lessons are always there. The lessons are always teaching us about learning what just happened that wasn't so pleasant. And I think that's true in most of life. When we learn, when we have something happen to us, we learn what not to do the next time. Unfortunately, that hasn't really been the case with the planet. We haven't really paid close enough attention to what's going on with the planet. I've noticed recently that the corn really likes to live among the marigolds. Why? Well, I'm not really sure. I do know that corn is a grass, and marigolds are a flower that repels insects. But I didn't know that corn had a lot of problems with insects, but apparently it does, or at least it likes not to have a problem with insects. So what we're trying to establish all over this planet is a way to adapt. And unlike the corn and the marigolds, we can't quite tell each other what we should do and have them do it. That's the problem. That's another reason I call myself a grief warrior, because I'm sad that for so many years I have worked so hard to let other people know the options for living that require less power, less whatever the power is driven by, whether it's gas or coal or water or air. Using a little less is going to make it easier for people. And of course now we've got wars and we've got AI, and it seems like everybody's grabbing for power. And houses keep using more and more power. Thank goodness they've worked on appliances to make them use a lot less. That of course has helped. But it's not the solution. We're just doing small things. And right now my conversation is mostly about the trees. What can we do? Could you make a promise to plant a tree? Can you plant a tree? I remember back 3 decades ago, I had to get a business license as a tree farm in order to choose where I wanted to put trees in my yard, without having to get permission for every tree from planning and zoning. Why on earth, when I'm living on a full acre of property in a I guess you'd call it a rural area, it was a farming area that had been changed into a development. Why would I have to get a permission for every tree I put in? I mean, yeah, sure, I could put in something that's invasive, but if that's not what I've got in mind, I mean, why should somebody else tell me where and how many trees I can put on my property? On an acre. An acre's a lot of land with a house. Putting up trees to stop the sun, or putting up trees to invite the animals in, or trees to bring in the pollinators. I mean, oxygen. Do you think I could go to the the zoning board and say, I'm trying to create a little oxygen on my property, they're just going to laugh at me. I'm trying to provide a home for the birds, they're going to laugh at me. I'm trying to make sure there's pollinating insects around that like these trees, and I pick the trees that are most adaptable to this area. They're going to laugh at me. They're going to say, well, we've decided that 6 trees is the maximum amount you could have, and they have to be within so many feet of this and so many feet of that, and they have to be prepared so deeply. And it just goes on and on and on with bureaucracy. Well, we're all standing here wondering if we got enough trees to breathe. It's crazy. But just remember, trees stand alone, but their roots are intertwined. Their roots are connected. Let's think about connecting our brain tissue with each other for ideas in how we can help the climate. Doesn't that make sense? And PlantATree too, okay? If you have any questions, go down into the descriptions and leave me a comment. I'll be happy to answer you. Be happy to research anything for you. And while you're down there, check out our nonprofit. We've been organized for 34 years, doing all kinds of nonprofit things. And to remind you about the earth, about taking care of the earth, there's two of us over 75 are artists, and some of our work is down there too. So take a look and come back. Leave comments. Let me know what you think. Thank you.